Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today it's Luchike Styles here, and thank you for stopping right here on my space today. So beginning about the quick detail process in the drafting, cutting, and also the sewing of this beautiful wrap top which you see at the right side of the screen, which has an exaggerated balloon sleeve. So for this particular wrap top, you don't really need to go through all the stress of cutting an extra rope so that you can use it to tie around your waist area. In this particular tutorial, we'll be cutting this wrap top together with the rope in such a way that it will be easier to be worn and stress-free. So it's 100% beginners friendly tutorial, trust me on that, and it's never going to be a thing of regret. And if this sounds like something you're interested in learning how to do, please continue watching. Don't forget to hit on that subscribe button and not also skip any part of this video. So without much ado, let's dive right into what we have for today. So this fabric I have right here is called a Mikado, and the color is champagne gold. So I used about 2 yards, but please, if you're on a plus size or if you want a fuller effect of the balloon sleeves, please go ahead and make use of more yards, like 3 yards or 3.5 yards, okay? But for me, I worked with 2 yards of this Mikado fabric, as you can see the spelling here on the screen. So this Mikado fabric somewhat looks like a bridal satin, but for you to be able to differentiate this Mikado has these shiny glitters on it on the right side, okay? So that is the big difference with the Mikado and also a bridal mirrored satin. So I'm simply going to get started now by drafting a house scale basic bodice. You have to do this by getting the quarter of your bust circumference or the largest part of your upper body. Some have their waist bigger than their bust, some have their bust bigger than the other parts of their upper body. So whichever one is okay, feel free to go ahead and divide it by 4 and add extra 2 inches to whatever you have. So right here, I already went ahead to fold my fabric into 2 and I measured out what I have. So what I actually divided was my bust circumference by 4. So I added extra 2 inches to what I had for me to get the amount of folds that will be enough for my half scale body. So from the top part of this my fabric, I just left 3/4 of an inch from the top part and I marked that straight line. So on that straight line, that's my shoulder line. I divided my shoulder into 2. I marked what I have right there. Then from that my shoulder line, I marked 8 inches below, which is my armhole length. I marked 17 inches, which is my half length. Then I'm marking my top length. So my top length now is going to be 22 inches, and I'll add extra 1.5 inches to whatever I have. So altogether, I have 23.5 inches as my top length. So all these lines now, I'm going to roll them out. Sorry, all these dots, I'm going to roll them out. So after extending all these lines, I also extended the one from my shoulder to my armhole or my chest line. So on this my armhole line now, I'll go ahead and get the middle, and on that middle I went in by at least half an inch. Then on this my chest line, I divided my bust circumference by 4. I marked what I got right there on my chest line, and I added extra half of an inch to what I have. This is for ease, it's totally optional, but if you do it, you're on the safer side, okay? So after that, I connected this point all the way from my shoulder into my chest line. So the next I'm going to do is to actually divide my waist circumference by 4, and I also added half of an inch extra, which is going to be for my ease. So I measured out what I have on my waistline, and I'm marking it exactly what I have on my top length. So now that I'm done with all of that, I'm going ahead now to mark 1.5 inches, which is my stitching or sewing allowance. So if you watch properly right here, I'm drafting out the back part of this my dress first, because it's going to be serving as a template in order for me to perfectly cut out the front part of our dress. So this is it after connecting all of these dots I've made right here so far. I'll quickly move over to the neckline area because we're here to work on that. For my neckline width, I marked 2.5 inches, and for the depth, I also marked 2.5 inches as well. So using my ruler, I'm going to create a round neckline, just as you can see I've done right here, and also go by at least half an inch for my neck width, and now slant it into the other side of my shoulder. So I was just trying to reconfirm all I have right there, and that is basically it for the back part of this our top. So I'll go ahead now and cut out exactly the same way which I've drafted so far. So now I'm cutting the armhole and also the neckline and the shoulder. So that's basically it. One thing I noticed about this particular fabric is that while you iron it shrinks a bit, so it's really necessary to add your ease of half an inch to whatever you are cutting. That is something I've experienced. Like, this is my fourth time working with this particular fabric called Mikado. So I just pinned the sides because it was slipping off and it wasn't aligning. So after that, the next thing is to go on ahead to use the template for the back to cut out for the front. So I had to do this by folding the remnants of my fabric into 2 equal halves, as you can see right here. So right here, I divided my waist circumference by 2. So after that, I had 18 inches, as you can see right here. But because I want this to go around my waist like twice, I had to mark extra, I think 11 inches from the 18 inches I have already, as you can see right here. So you can actually make use of your entire waist circumference without dividing it into 2. What I mean is, if your waist circumference is 33 inches, just go ahead and mark 33 inches from the folded edge of your fabric. Okay, so you see I marked extra 11 inches to the 18 inches I had already. So now in total I'm having, I think, 29 inches, right? So now from that mark I have, I'm just going to get the back part of my dress and I'm going to place it from that point. So when I arranged this, it didn't really get to the side, so I just had to come in a bit from the mark I have earlier so that I can arrange the back part of my dress. So this is me arranging it right here on this other folded fabric I have. So I now measured out what I had. I think it reduced by 3 inches extra, but that was totally fine. So I'm just going to simply pin this as well to this other fabric I have on fold. So you can see how careful I'm being right here to make sure that everything is in place and stable with my pins. So please go ahead and also do the same thing which I'm doing right here so far. Okay, so secure all the edges and all the parts with your office pin, and the next thing I'm going to do now is to actually mark out the base of this my top. So from the base of the back part of my dress, and I wrote the straight line to the folded edge of my fabric right there, as you can see. So from that line I have now, I'm going to like mark at least 3 inches from that line upward. Okay, if you do 3.5 is also okay, but the minimum should be 2.5 inches. Okay, so now I mark 3 inches upward and I just drew that line just a little. So the next I'm going to come to my neckline, that's the neck width. So at this point, some people prefer their wrap top covered, like covering their boobs or their cleavage, and some people prefer theirs revealing. So if you want yours covered, okay, I mean your boobs area, you can go ahead and mark at least 6 inches from your neck width. So you can see that I got the neck width for the back dress, and I now came down by 6 inches. I connected those 2 points together. So at this point, this is where your curve rule is going to do the whole work. You really need to work with your curve rule, okay, because you're going to curve this into the 3 inches that I came up by from the base of this my fabric. So from that 6 inches, now you can see how I'm placing my curve rule this way, and I'm just going into that 3 inches I marked earlier. As you can see how it intercepted together at this point. So it's quite easy and very simple to do. After that, just go on ahead to now cut this out. So I initially wanted to have this half of an inch allowance, which is going to be for my folds, but let's continue. You see what I did by the end of the day. So I now cut out exactly what I had, and now cut out the armhole and the size, though it was showing. Apologies for all of that. Okay, so I'm trimming off the excess I have because it was more than half of an inch. So right now I have exactly half of an inch. So I separated the folds I have at the front part of this my fabric, and then from underneath that line I'm now cutting off the excess. Remember, I already added my folding allowance of 1.5 inches while I was drafting. So now that I'm done with the drafting, I'll simply go ahead now to start joining. So this is it for the front and the back. I'm just removing the pins I have pinned for the front and the back. So you can see how the front part is looking so fine, and you can see you don't need to go through the stress of cutting out an extra row. So right now I basically want to start just joining on the shoulder. So right sides facing each other, one part of the shoulder for the back and that of the front. Remember, right sides facing each other on the shoulder. I went ahead to pin the both. Now you'll go ahead and stitch or join the two shoulders using just half of an inch after pinning. So when I'm done stitching the two shoulders using just half of an inch, right sides facing each other, I'm going to repeat the same thing for the sides. Right sides facing each other at the sides, I'm going to start pinning. So after pinning, I'll go ahead and mark my stitching allowance of 1.5 inches. But as you're marking this, from your armhole, at least come down by half of an inch so that your sleeve can easily pass through when we get to that. So I've stitched the shoulder and also the two sides, and you can see what I have so far. So the next thing I'm going to do is to fold this other part all the way from this part to the other side. But I realized because of the half an inch extra I added to that part, it didn't align properly with the back shoulder or neckline. So I just had to fold this my fabric into two to just go ahead and trim off that half of an inch so that it can align properly while I'm trying to fold this. So if you have a weaving machine, you can go ahead and weave all of these parts all the way to the back neckline to the other side. So because I don't have, I'll just be folding a little from what I have right here from the front all the way to the back neckline. So to start off with this, you're firstly going to fold in the edge of this part twice, you can see, and stitch. Then before you go ahead to now start folding this other side twice. But if you have a weaving machine, you can weave it and now fold it in just once. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do all the way to the back neckline to this other part of my front dress. As you can see, I'm trying to show you all right here. So when you're now done with that, you now come to the base of the top. You are going to remember it was 1.5 inches extra I added as the folding allowance. So that is what I measured out right now. So from that 1.5 inches, I now folded in half of an inch. So I'm going to fold this in all the way to the other side of my top. I hope it's clear. Then I'll move over to my sleeve. I already have this basic sleeve which I drafted out behind the camera. So now I'm going to do a slash and spread. It's actually 24 inches long in length, but I'm adding an extra 1 inch when I'm cutting out on my fabric for my allowance. So now from the front part of my sleeve, I marked 2 inches. So I want to be having 2 inches spaces between these lines I have. So I went ahead now to connect all these dots into a straight line. So I'm going to number them when I'm done extending all of these dots, and altogether I think I had 5 pieces of this. Now I'm going to slash everything out entirely. As you can see, I'm doing right here. I'm slashing the 5th line, the 4th line, the 3rd line, the 2nd line, and the 1st line respectively. So when I'm now done with this, I'm going to get my fabric. I'm going to fold it into 2 and now place all this my slash paper on it. So here's a remnant of my fabric. I'll go ahead and fold it into 2. So make sure that it's wide enough because this is a balloon sleeve. Okay, so when I'm done with the folds now, I'll get number 1 paper, but before that I need to rule a straight line so that the base of my paper can be on that line. This is to ensure equality, okay, so that I don't have one paper up and the other one lower. I don't know if you get, but just do exactly what I've done here so far. So all the base or tip of my paper will be touching on that line which I ruled, though it wasn't showing well on the camera. So I placed my number 1 paper and I pinned it. So the spaces I want in between this paper here will be 1.5 inches. So I got that 1.5 inches space from my number 1 paper to my number 2 paper and I pinned it as well. I will continue doing the same thing. Okay, sorry, what I marked here was 2 inches, not actually 1.5, but you just have to continue doing this way, ensuring that the tip or the base of your paper touches that line, which is serving as a guide for us to pin our paper to our fabric. So I now cut out, and at the base you can see I added 1 inch for my folding allowance. So you need 2 pieces. So yeah, you need 2 pieces of this fabric. As you can see, I went ahead to cut out the circle one. So now here is the front part of our top, and I've gone ahead to do all of that which I showed you all earlier. So because this is a wrap top, remember we need a space at the sides where this our rope can pass through. So I measured out what I had. It was 1.5 inches. So because of that, from the base of this my top at the side, I'm going to mark 2 inches, and I'm going to lose it slightly. You can see I use my affix pin to hold it at that point so that I don't lose more than 2 inches. So I'm going to just double stitch on the sides so that I can have that space in between, so that this my rope can easily pass through. You can see what I mean. This is like the most simple method you can ever use for your wrap top. So after that, I'm just going to go ahead to start working on my sleeve. So I'm removing the paper I have right now, and for the hem of my sleeve, that's at the base, I'll go ahead and fold this twice to create a channel where my elastic will pass through. And around the armhole area, I went ahead to run a gather stitch as well. So remember to also notch the center of your sleeve by the time before you spread it out, okay? So now I'm getting the armhole area of my top, and I'll get the notched part of my sleeve, right sides facing each other. That is my armhole and my sleeve. I'll go ahead and start pinning this. So I pin the notch part of my sleeve to the center or the joints I have on my shoulder for the front and the back top, and then I pin the ends of my sleeve to my armhole. So after that, now I'll just start pulling on this thread I have on my sleeve for me to get this effect which you're seeing right here. So I'll arrange this properly around my armhole, as you can see I'm doing right here. Then I'll go ahead and pin. I'll repeat the same process for the other side of my armhole as well, and I'll go ahead and also stitch this as well. So you can see that I'm taking my time to go about this. Also take your time and also do this so that you don't make mistakes as well. So you can see how I'm adjusting and readjusting this so that it can fit properly. All right, so now after pinning this, go ahead and stitch it on the wrong side. So this is for the base. I've gone ahead to create this channel where my elastic can pass through. So this elastic I have right here is about 3/4 of an inch wide. So using my safety pin, I pin this, and I'm going to pass this through this channel at the hem or the base of this my sleeve. So I will do this till it comes out from the other side or end of my sleeve. So when I'm done, I'm going to draw this so that it doesn't get too tight, okay, neither will it get too loose as well. So you can see what I'm doing right here. Make sure it's not so tight, and make sure you use an elastic that stretches properly, okay? So go ahead and pin this as well, and now cut off the excess. So when you're now done, secure the both edges of this your sleeve for the elastic. Then you now turn it over like this to the wrong side, and now stitch using at least 1/2 an inch into your armhole, and that'll be it. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time on this same channel. Lovely time ahead of you. Bye.